بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله والشكر لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين صلى الله عليه وسلم. Good morning everyone. Welcome to the Biotechnology Startup Program entitled Innovation Opportunities for Biotechnology. My name is Mohammed Al-Shehri. I am the Business Development Director at the Dammam Valley. We are pleased and honored to have you all here to discuss the challenging and perspectives facing the biotechnology and the opportunities to grow and investment with the leading experts in biotechnology. As a start, we have produced a video to explain our story as well as to tell you about the program.
In a world full of challenges, biotechnology offers solutions from creation of vaccines to cell regeneration therapies. It offers a better life with enhanced experiences. Today, we take biotech to higher levels by launching a pioneer program to support startups in the field, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the world, to bring their creativity to unmatched levels of excellence, to make their ideas a reality and let their innovations be the inspiration. Support is now here for startups in medicine, agriculture, environment. Toward Vision 2030, individuals, groups, medical personnel, researchers, entrepreneurs, investors can now get financial grants, help to start and build up teams, specialized local and international support so they can go from startup to reach beyond the finish line. From the Dammam Valley to investors in Saudi Arabia and the world, sign up now so biotechnology can better our world through the strength of our ideas and the constant support of our partners.
Joining us today, Dr. Arndt Rolfs, the CEO of the Dammam Valley, who would like to give you all a warm welcome.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سعيد جدا بوجودي هنا اليوم. الكلمة صراحة باللغة الإنجليزية، لكن قبل اللغة الإنجليزية أبغى أرحب فيكم جميعا وأعبر عن كمية سعادتي باللقاء الأول في جامعة الإمام عبد الرحمن الفيصل مع والي الدمام وفريق والي الدمام. هدفنا من البرنامج باختصار أن نخرج شركات ناشئة مؤثرة في التقنية الحيوية، ليس فقط من مجتمع جامعة الإمام، نتمنى أن يكون من المجتمع الشرقية ومن التواصل والتفاعل مع الجهات في المنطقة. يسمحوا لي احتراما للضيف وبعض المتحدثين باللغة الإنجليزية نحول للترحيب بهم باللغة الإنجليزية. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to welcome you to the first panel discussion at the Dammam Valley, Innovation Opportunities in Biotechnology. I would like to extend my thanks to our organizer partner, Imam Abdul Rahman bin Faisal University, and the program partners, Aramco, Ministry of Investment, Ministry of Industry and Future Investment Initiative Institute, and Sadala. As you all know, the program is already announced 2 weeks ago, and the registration until 25 of March. There is a number of resources available to qualify registered startup. I would like to thank again our panelists, attendees today, and Also, I'd like to thank Dr. Fahad Al-Harbi, the Vice Rector of Imam Abdulrahman Al-Faisal, for all his continuous support. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abdulrahman. Now, please welcome Professor Fahad Al-Harbi, Vice President for Postgraduate Studies and Scientific Research.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear guests, panelists, colleagues of deans of colleges, and vice deans, department chairs, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning. On behalf of University Administration, I welcome you all this morning at this meeting to discuss innovation opportunities in biotechnology as part of the biotech startup program organized and led by the Man Valley company. We believe that this is a very unique and promising program in the concept and the focus that was carefully studied and selected. It is very well aligned and mandated to realize the vision of 2030 of the kingdom. Specifically, the second pillar, which focuses on the thriving economy. Biotechnology is considered the focal point and key element of the vision. Therefore, innovation and the consequent investment in this field of biotechnology meet the aspirations of Vision 2050 to diversify the economy by contributing to non-oil GDP growth. And here comes the role of universities, specifically in the kingdom, where its research and innovation is considered as one of the most important tools to achieve the targeted component of Vision 2030. More specifically to speak about is at Imam Abdulrahman bin Faisal University, where our focus is interdisciplinary style of research in health and biotechnology involving multiple disciplines, including all medical disciplines, information technologies, engineering, in addition to other basic sciences. There are several promising patents and ideas as outcomes of IAU, Imam Abdulrahman bin Faisal University Research and Innovation Strategy. One of IAU goals is to contribute to economic development through the translation of these discoveries into innovation. The fruitful partnership and team-up with the Man Valley company is an optimistic type of collaboration where its goals set by His Excellency, President of the University, Professor Arndt Rolfs, will be met promptly, inshallah, and the very active role of my colleague, Dr. Abdulrahman Al-Layyan, the CEO of the Man Valley, will be the turning point for the great successes. I will leave you for a more enjoyable time with our panelists, and hope we all enjoy the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Fahad. Last but not least, please welcome the panel discussion moderator and leader of the Biotechnology Startup Program, Dr. Sumaya and Jamil.
So welcome you all. Saudi Arabia is said to be a regional hub for biotechnology, allowing for industrial and economic change and moving to it closer to its vision 2030. With advances in artificial intelligence, biotechnology is about to witness a promising breakthroughs. We are honored to have with us today 4 exceptional visionaries, scientists in the world of biotechnology. The former CEO and the founder of Syntagene is a professor of clinical neurology at the University of Rostock, Germany, and a multi-entrepreneur biotechnology. He has ultimate success story in the world of startups in the field of biotechnology, thanks to his vision, Syntagene, which was founded as a startup to become one of the world's leading companies in the field of rare genetic disease diagnosis. So welcome, Dr. Arndt Rolfs. The chairman of Hayal Health Cluster and chairman of the Board of Trustees National Development Program. He brings with him over 20 years of experience in a public and private sector. He is a skilled project engineer, a leader, an entrepreneur and investor. Welcome, Engineer Abdullah Al-Rukhiz. She is the Dean of Scientist Research and a member of the Board of Trustees at Imam Abdulrahman bin Faisal University. Welcome, Dr. Nahad Al-Amir. Our 4th panelist today is a leading researcher, scientist and academic in the field of neuroscience and physiology. She is the Vice Dean of Graduate Studies and Research, Scientific Research in the College of Medicine at Imam Abdulrahman bin Faisal University. Welcome, Dr. Khulud الغامدي. So thank you for joining us today. Let me start with Dr. Arndt. According to preceding research, the biotechnology market size is expected to surpass around $1,700 billion by 2030. And with expanding growth rate of 8.7% from 2021 to 2030. So what are the factors that affected the biotechnology market size?
Well, it's difficult.
Yes, yes.
I have to switch it on.
Yes, it's connected. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. That's really a difficult question. I guess it is a huge number without any doubt, and it just demonstrates the attractiveness, especially for the next generation and the young scientists, to think about, is this something where I should invest my smartness, my mindset, and my activity? Just the number already underlines that it's definitely valid to do that. However, I guess it's super clear, just a simple number does not tell us anything about the story. Because at the end of the day, we have to sub-segment it in the different areas where we see our own expertise, where we believe we can really contribute, and where we see that the environment where I'm living, where I'm active, can really contribute. Therefore, don't use too much these fancy, unbelievable great numbers. Just think about what is the environment where I can really contribute. And if we bring it down, and you have so nicely shown that we have the agriculture on one side, we have the basic biotechnology on the other side, we have the medicine on the third layer. If we sub-segment it only in these 3 layers, it is clear the numbers are still huge enough to make it economically attractive on the one side. And economically attractive, I guess we just had the chance to quickly discuss it, does not only mean it is for me of attractive I guess it always needs a general strategy, because as isolated individuals, we are typically never successful. So whatever we are doing needs a network, needs a good environment, needs good support, needs a good balance of different understandings and influences from the different adjacent parties and environments. And if you bring all of these topics together, then you might be successful in contributing a small piece to the huge numbers. So I would say just use the big numbers to underline it's a fascinating, attractive field, but don't be overwhelmed too much by the huge numbers, and analyze what segment is of interest for you and what segment you might be able to contribute.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Arndt. So, Mr. Abdullah, Saudi Arabia's entrepreneurial ecosystem has been significantly growing during the past 5 years as the government and other entities got more involved in supporting the ecosystem. So what is the current state of ecosystem, biotechnology ecosystem in Saudi Arabia?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. أولا أتوجه بالشكر والامتنان لجامعة الإمام عبد الرحمن بن فيصل ولوادي الدمام للتقنية لدعوة المتكلمين للمشاركة وكورة لقاءات هذا البرنامج الطموح لتطوير الشركات الناشئة بالتقنية الحيوية. وأيضا أتقدم حقيقة بالامتنان والتقدير لشبابنا ما شاء الله، يعني معظم من في هذه القاعة من الشباب الذين سيكون لهم إن شاء الله تعالى دور بارز في تحقيق وعود رؤية شباب الملتزمين بتحقيق هذه الطموحات الكبيرة. ولا شك أن سلسلة القيمة لمنظومة الريادة في المملكة العربية السعودية شهدت تقدما كبيرا على أصعدة معينة، على الأخص التمويل، سلسلة القيمة للتمويل والاستثمار على وجه الخصوص. التقنية الحيوية هو قطاع واعد ومهم جدا، ولكنه قطاع جديد ليس في المملكة ولكن في المنطقة بشكل عام. لم نصل بعد إلى نفس المستويات التي وصلت لها أسواق ناضجة مثل الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية أو الاتحاد الأوروبي أو آسيا. لذلك لا زلنا في بداية الطريق، لا زال أمامنا الكثير لننجزه، ولكن الأهم يمكن أن نلحظ ثلاث أمور هي في غاية الأهمية. أولا أننا بدأنا نتقدم الحمد لله على صعيد تطوير البحوث والابتكارات، أيضا في طريقنا نحو تحقيق ما يمكن أن يوصف بالكتلة الحرجة لعدد البراءات الاختراع المسجلة في مجالات التقنية الحيوية، سواء كانت البيضاء المقصود فيها الصناعية، أو الخضراء المقصود فيها الزراعية، أو الحمراء المقصود فيها الطبية. هذه المجالات مجالات مهمة جدا، وأهميتها تنبع من الجزء الثاني، وهو أنها مهمة جدا لتنمية الاقتصاد الوطني. لذلك هي لم تكن التقنية الحيوية ليست ترفا وليست خيارا، ولكنه خيار حتمي يجب علينا أن نوفر جميع الوسائل الممكنة لتحقيق متطلبات سلسلة القيمة لمنظومة ريادة الأعمال القائمة على الابتكار، لتمكين مراكز الأبحاث والجامعات ورواد الأعمال والمستثمرين كذلك لتقدم أو مضي قدما في مثل هذه الطريقة. أخيرا، بالقدر الذي تحققت فيه على مدى السنوات الأخيرة، في السنوات الخمس الماضية.
And there is more than 1,600 general devices in our university. Also, Imam Abdullah bin Faisal can carry out the basic applied translational research. In vivo and the clinical research are well formulated by the standing committee of ethics research on living creature (ILB). Also, there is ICUC, which is institutional committee for the animals. Also, there is animal house facility, Head University Hospital. All these tools can, inshallah, help the people to apply the biotech in our university.
Inshallah. Thank you, Dr. Nihad. Going back to Dr. Arndt, so it comes to our mind after a long and distinguished career in medicine and academia, what promoted you to found Centogene in 2006?
That's really an interesting question. To be honest to you, university gives us always a very unique and very privileged place to receive education. If I think back in my own career, it was on the one side from the very beginning on a very international education. I started in Germany, went to Austria, went to the US, and coming back to Germany several years at the Max Planck Institute for Molecular Genetics. So as a medical doctor receiving a good, excellent, basic scientific education. This was most important for me. Then I was moving more into the clinical education. I did my education as a neurologist and neurogeneticist. And then I realized, oh wow, the combination of both might make even more contribute than the decision whether I'm just going either in the basic science or more to the clinical science. And then I was realizing at that time, and it was in the 90s, so roughly about 25 years ago, at least in Europe, there is not the proper environment, because at that time we were missing some tools to get it really very well merged. And this merging of different elements, you can also name it what we like in the future very much already for today, is this hybrid thinking, bringing things together where either from the tradition or from the organization you might think, oh, it's not really fitting very well together. This was motivating me to think about what might be a better environment. In that case, to get it merged on the one side, and to be honest to you, also to speed up the processes. European universities, based on the long traditions, sometimes have a little bit driven by the bureaucratization of the administrative process, not the label being the fastest. This is definitely something we have to work on. So I was thinking, okay, biotech, this would be indeed the headline where I started founding my first company about 20 years ago, is the environment where you have to be fast, where you have to merge and bring things together. Others might not yet have thought about that. So again, being innovative and using your good education you have typically achieved from the university environment. Having said that, it was clear for me I have to open my first company. So to be honest to you, if I'm allowed to quickly comment on that, it was in 2000. So shortly before 9/11, and to be honest to you, I was extremely proud at that time. I brought some international investors together. I had a smart idea. Retrospectively, I would say I was a little bit too early in the market. So the market topic, maybe we have the chance to discuss this later on, is always extremely important that we don't ignore it, because everything what we should do in the industry should really focus on the market need. If there is no market need, it might not be easy to commercialize it. I had a great idea. I had a wonderful patent, several patents I had realized in the years before. So I thought, okay, everything is running smoothly. It wasn't. And do you know why? It was on the one side the wrong time point. Could I predict 9/11? For sure not. But it was also the wrong combination of investors. This is a lesson I learned later on. And again, the product might be a little bit too early to the market, so the market did not yet understand at that time the concept. So after 2 years, I closed the companies. Was it a mistake in my life? No. It was the greatest experience, to be honest to you, because I learned a lot of lessons. I learned lessons about the right timing. I learned lessons, what does it mean to talk with different investors? An investor is not the same like the other investors. And it's really a great lesson in my understanding how to bring all of these pieces together. And then 4 years later, I founded a further company, or a named company, Centogene, And here I would say I had a good concept. It was right for the market, a global need from the very beginning on. But maybe the most important topic, I have learned something in the last years and had the possibility and also the luck, sometimes it's really also an element of for sure being lucky, I had the chance to bring all of these topics together. I was at that time still professor at the university, very actively enrolled and involved in the university, especially in the education of the youngsters. And I would say, the young students, I would say, one of the great benefits why I was finally also successful with the company I founded at that time was really that I had been able to bring this fascination, this absolutely thrilling element of being suddenly in a situation, yes, you have to take responsibility, but coming in a situation where you can decide, where you are convinced what is the right direction, what is the right decision for yourself, for the company, and for your colleagues that trust in you. And this was an important element because I had the chance really to get some 11, I will never forget the numbers, rather young students being part and being member the first years of this company. And this creativity, this, I would say, unskewed or undeviated views, and this fresh attitude, get it done, was an extremely important element for the success of the company. So bringing the senior experience, I thought at that time I was already experienced. Now looking 15 years back, I would say this was also wrong, but again, it's a part of my learning curve. But at that time I thought, oh, being so experienced and having now these fresh young colleagues on board, this was really an important element. So, make a long story short, having now the view back on the 20 years, I would say the timing is critical. The brave to leave the typically very safe environment of the universities and accept some uncertainty is really of importance. And the open-mindedness, how important it is to bring different experienced, young, fresh, motivated people together with the seniors. I would say these have been the most important arguments for me. On the one side, why I finally decided some years ago now to be exclusively in the biotech industry. That means leaving the university, the safe environment of the university, for sure, but much more thrilling now to have the liberty and the opportunity to design, to generate new concepts, to develop new ideas on the one side, and on the other side, bringing these pieces together was a good basis for the success.
Thank you, Dr. Arndt. Mr. Abdullah, how Saudi Arabia can leverage best practices of biotech clusters around the world to develop rich ecosystem that will attract the world best-in-class entrepreneurs?
لا شك أن هذا تحدي كبير جدا منافسة اقتصادات ناضجة ولها عقود في مجال تطوير التقنيات الحيوية في مجالات الحيوية الطبية والصيدلانية والخاصة الدوائية وأيضا تقنيات الغذاء المتقدمة التي حصلت على مدى 50 عاما في تقنيات لا زالت الشركات دولية يعني أسرارها التجارية. الوصول إلى مثل هذا المستوى يحتاج إلى وقت طويل، ومن المهم وهو الذي حصل يعني بفضل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن المملكة بدأت مؤخرا بتطوير 3 محاور بوقت واحد. المحور الأول كان يتعلق بالبيئة التنظيمية والتشريعية لاحتضان مثل هذه التقنيات بالغة التعقيد، التقنيات الحيوية سواء كانت الطبية والدوائية أو كانت تقنيات الغذاء المتقدم أو كانت تقنيات الطاقة أو كانت كذلك التقنيات البيضاء والتقنيات الصناعية. المحور التنظيمي والتشريعي يرتكز على مركزين أساسيين. الأول إشكالية استيعاب تحديات الملكية الفكرية وبعد تأسيس الهيئة السعودية للملكية الفكرية قبل نحو 3 سنوات تحققت بحمد الله إنجازات كبيرة جدا على مستوى التنظيم والتشريع وعلى مستوى البرامج والمبادرات. تحقق ما قد تحقق يمكن على مدى عقدين في بعض الدول الصناعية، وهذا أمر جدا مهم وأساس ركين لتطوير تقنية حيوية مبنية على الابتكار. المجال الثاني أو الركيزة الثانية تتعلق بتطوير البحث والابتكار. البحث والابتكار وعلى الأخص في محاضر في الجامعات، في مراكز البحث، وفي الشركات المختصة، يعني شركات سواء كانت الشركات الصيدلانية والدوائية أو شركات الطاقة المعنية بالتقنيات الحيوية، أو كانت البحوث التي يتخصص بها مراكز متخصصة، مثلا مركز متخصص في بحوث الذكاء الاصطناعي على سبيل المثال في مجال البيانات، أو مركز متخصص في اللقاحات، أو مركز متخصص بإعادة هيكلة منظومة البذور على سبيل المثال وحفظها لإنتاج غذاء مستدام. هذه المراكز البحثية تطورت، ولكن ليس بالقدر الذي تطور في الجانب التنظيمي. تطورت لأن لدينا بعض الصناعات المتقدمة مثل صناعة الغاز والصناعات الأساسية للبتروكيماويات كما هو في شركات مثل سابك وأرامكو وغيرها، لكن لا زلنا أعتقد في مراحل مبكرة في القطاعات الصناعات الدوائية. أكثر من يمكن 85% من أدويتنا تستورد وتعبى وتغلف ولا تصنع في المملكة. لا يوجد لدينا إلى الآن المستوى المأمول من التقنيات الحيوية الطبية، ولا يوجد أيضا لدينا في القطاعات الأخرى ذات الأهمية وذات الأولوية. فهذا الركن الثاني لا نزال في مراحل أولية، ولكن وجود مثل هذه المبادرات الرائعة مثل برنامج مثل وادي الظهران، شركة وادي الظهران على سبيل الخصوص، وهذا الدعم والتمكين الذي تجده من حكومتنا الرشيدة ومن أيضا منظومتنا التعليمية المتمثلة بجامعة الإمام عبد الرحمن بن فيصل، والدعم أيضا من أعضاء هيئة التدريس ومن الباحثين ومن المراكز ومن أيضا رواد الأعمال. هذا عنصر مهم جدا لأن نحقق نفس التقدم الذي حققناه في الجانب التنظيمي فيما يتعلق بالبحوث والابتكار. العنصر الثالث والأخير يتعلق بتعاملنا مع الأسواق. في النهاية يمكن أن يكون لدينا العديد من براءات الاختراع، ولكن تظل حبيسة في الرفوف. ما لم يكن لدينا السوق يستوعب مثل هذه التقنيات الحديثة لن نتحرك بعيدا، لن نمضي بعيدا. لذلك من المهم أن نركز على عنصر مهم من عناصر سلسلة القيمة وهو الاستثمار. يجب أن يلتفت المستثمرون في على الأقل تقدير في تمويل البذرة على مستوى التمويل الملائكي بالدرجة الأولى، ثم تمويل رأس المال الجريء، وثم إلى مرحلة معينة الملكية الخاصة كذلك. فوجود تمويل وجود استثمار قادر على التعامل مع السوق لا زال في مراحله الأولى، ومع مراكز أبحاث لا زالت تخطو خطوات رضيع في تحدي حقيقي في واقع الأمر. لكن لن يعني يثني هذا الجهد المبارك المتمثلة في وادي الظهر في وادي الدمام، والحمد لله في جامعاتنا الرائدة أمثلة كثيرة بدأت تتشكل وبدأت يعني تضيف قيمة حقيقية للاقتصاد الوطني وتدعم وتمكن شبابنا سواء من أعضاء التدريس أو من طلاب أو من رواد الأعمال أو المستثمرين في مراحل مختلفة. من المهم جدا أن يكون هناك توازن وتوازي وتكامل بين التشريع والبحوث والابتكار والسوق. في المرحلة الأولى يمكن أن ننظم تشريعنا وتنظيمنا وننجز بسرعة هائلة، ولكن في المرحلة الثانية يحتاج الأمر بطبيعته إلى الوقت كافي لينضج. والمرحلة الثالثة المتعلقة بالتمويل والاستثمار وجاهزية السوق هذه فيها تحديات ومخاطر كبيرة، لكن نحن لها مثل ما حققنا على مستوى الحكومة المركزية الكثير من التقدم حققنا على مدى سنوات قليلة ما حققته الدول الاقتصادية والصناعية المتقدمة على مدى عقود. نستطيع بفضل الله سبحانه وتعالى وعونه وتوفيقه وهمة شبابنا أن نحقق الكثير فيما يتعلق بجذب شبابنا إلى هذه التقنيات المتقدمة على الأخص التقنيات الحيوية في أفراحها المختلفة.
شكرا أستاذ عبدالله. Dr. Khulud, how can we encourage multidisciplinary biotechnology research teams in the kingdom and address them towards sustainable development goals?
Thank you, Dr. Sumaya. From my point of view, addressing and encouraging biotechnology in the kingdom starts from earlier ages. So first of all, we need to acknowledge the importance of biotechnology. We've all seen it through our daily basis, daily usage. We use biotechnology every day. It's not, as we said, it's not like a luxury, it's a need nowadays. So acknowledge the importance of this. Second of all, spread the awareness. What we're doing today is spreading awareness of the importance of biotechnology. The creation, the establishment of the MAM Valley is one of the icons that leads us to spread awareness in that regard and the importance of biotechnology. Not only that, the MAM Valley is offering also a huge opportunity for everyone, and from this seat I encourage everyone to apply to the startup in biotechnology. Anyone who has an idea or has a research idea that might be commercialized, just go ahead and apply. No harm in applying. Don't hesitate. The third thing also, we always say think with the idea in mind, think with the end in mind. So we think with the company in mind, if I may say, or think with the commercialization in mind. So when you think of a research, think of the end product and think of the benefit to humanity. So broaden your horizon, think outside the box. Regarding also, as I was saying before, encouraging younger age. So encourage, talk about biotechnology in schools, encourage high school students to talk about this, to raise questions, to think of a solution for problems, listen to them. Not only that, also give them all the tools, give them elective courses in marketing, elective courses in biotechnology, let them know the word. This, because the younger generations are really, really smart and they have the tools, they are the geeks in technology, they're even better than us in that point. So encourage them. As we're speaking now, I think our university also is dealing with Mawhiba as a talented program that encourages thinking outside the box, and also those students, they come to our university and work in our laboratories and come up with certain ideas. So encourage from kindergarten until high school. And then when we come to university level, also create programs like bachelor degree in biotechnology. This is, I think, a start. We need those people who know more in medicine and who know more in technology. This is an excellent combination. When a person knows in medicine and knows in technology, I think our also university is pioneered in the College of Engineering. They have biomedical engineer, and this is a great specialty. We have to encourage people to go through this specialty. How do we encourage them? By showing them that there is a job, there is a market, and there is a job market for them. So recruiting them not only in universities, in industry, in ministry of, all ministries now are recruiting people with biotechnology skills. This is university level. Let's say faculty level. We encourage not only intra-collegial participation, not only department. Every department should talk to the next department, should come up with ideas and discuss the system and also benefit with what we have, as Dr. Al-Amir was saying. So intra-collegial and inter-colleges. What's the harm when medicine talks to computer science? This is coming soon, by the way. What's the harm when medicine talks to computer science and come with great ideas to diagnose, let's say, Alzheimer's disease by predicting the data from Alzheimer patients and then predicting artificial intelligence and Python language, things that I'm not aware of, and come up with a quick tool to diagnose. So intra-collegial and also the neighbors, like talk to KPPM, talk to Kaiser University, talk to KAUST, and also international collaboration. So if I want to finish with collaboration. Collaboration is the word, even in our Holy Quran, وَتَعَاوَنُوا. Collaboration is my advice to everyone. Shukran, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Khulud. Dr. Nahad, with the presence of large number of specialized centers and laboratories in Imam Abdulrahman bin Faisal University, can you tell us about some success stories for patent and innovation using biotechnology?
Thank you, Dr. Sumaya. There are many examples of success stories in our university. Maybe one of the most important invention in our university, which happened during the pandemic, was the development of a vaccine against coronavirus. It was headed by Dr. Iman Mansour from IRMC. Currently, this project has a collaboration with leading and expert company, and it is in the end stage of the first clinical trial. Also, there is another one, which is a research group from Dr. Khalid Salama from Public Health College and Dr. Mujandan from College of Medicine. They obtained a patent about antimicrobial medical textile. It is a new invention to manufacture antimicrobial medical textile, and it is significantly contribute to reduce the spread of infection in the hospital and among the health practitioner. Currently, this project developed by the national company, which is Research Product Development Company, and it is, inshallah, we hope, at the end of April, it is the startup of this research project. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nahad. Dr. Arndt, are there, in your opinion, opportunities for investment in biotechnology in the kingdom and beyond? And how do you rate the state of investment in biotechnology here?
Thank you for the question. I might not be really the top expert in commenting on that, but let me give you from my personal point of view and from my expertise some comments and some ideas on that. I'm a medical doctor. I'm active in genetic testing. While I'm interested in the genetic testing on the one side, it is for me one of the most perfect mergers in the last 20 years of basic science on the one side and the medical benefit to my patients on the other side. You might remember, I might be the oldest here in the hall, but we did 25 to 30 years ago sequencing using radioactive technology. It was called Sanger sequencing. It was really a nightmare. It was a really big challenge to sequence a small piece of 200, 300, or 400 base pairs to get information regarding the DNA sequences. It was time consuming, it was extremely slow, it was really money burning, it was not of highest quality. And then there was a huge contribution. That was 82 and 83, and at that time I was lucky because I was staying in the US, and I heard the first time about a technology, a biotechnology that is in the meanwhile absolutely ubiquitous. We are all using it, we are all experiencing it, and it is called PCR, polymerase chain reaction. At that time, no one was aware about that, and the easiness of the PCR is exactly the miracle and the basis for the huge success of that technology. Because what does it mean? I'm just amplifying, I'm multiplying by generating copies of DNA, and with the amplifying of the DNA, it's much more easier to get things done. So instead of cloning, time-consuming bacteria, generating artifacts, I could easily take now a fragment of the DNA, amplify it, and then sequence it. So I was massively improving the topic of the sensitivity. With that simple invention, but revolutionary invention, suddenly I was able to do the first time the sequencing non-radioactively. So that means fluorescence dyes that could be used. That was speeding up the process, that was making it much easier, it was massively reducing the costs, and the quality was also much better. Still, we had the limitation of the size. And then there was a further revolution, and I was lucky also a second time because I was also involved in that, that people are thinking, okay, Sanger sequencing, excellent quality, however slow and extremely expensive. This technology was massively also stimulated by the Human Genome Project. Then we had the next revolution called next generation sequencing. And this I was taking on my table that now it's the right time point, and therefore timing is really critical, where I thought now we can really think about how to commercialize it, how to industrialize it. And industrialization always means how can you reduce production costs, how can you make it more efficient, how can you be faster, and how can you scale it up in the sense of improving the stability of the quality. And that was exactly the time where I thought, now, the right time for it. Then I was thinking about where are the markets, because it's great to do something for your own patient, it's great to do something for the patients from the country where you're living, but that's typically not the basis for a very well-developing and nicely developing biotech concept, where you should always ask yourself, is there a global usage and a global need for the ideas you have developed? Therefore, I was analyzing the market, and I realized there is one specific topic, that's the topic that we have specific countries where you can say in the first line, unfortunately, I will change this later, where unfortunately we have a higher frequency of people suffering from those genetic diseases. I'm now able to diagnose efficiently, very quick, very reliably. And these are especially those countries where we have the topic of the cousin's marriage based on the tradition in the different countries. So Arabic countries, Israel, specific areas also in North Europe, some specific areas also in Asia, we have this topic of the traditionally based cousin's marriage. And this is unfortunately increasing massively the frequency of the genetic diseases. So that's a market. Wow, let me analyze it. And that was exactly the beginning of my activities in the Saudi Arabian country, also in other Arabic countries, like in Egypt, like in Turkey, and like in Pakistan, because we were realizing we have a great technology, nicely developed, ready for the market, and there are the markets. Now coming back to your question, what is about the investment atmosphere and the investment situation in Saudi Arabia? I guess in Saudi Arabia we have in the meanwhile, especially based on the absolutely impressive changes your country has done in the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years. It's so very evident, also from the outside perspective, how your country has changed. Your country brings several huge advantages together. Number one, you have a young generation. A young generation that is typically well educated, and this is of highest importance. In Europe, we are missing that. The education is good, but the percentage of the young people is compared to your country significantly smaller. So we have to think about how can we convince, how can we make our country more attractive for the young, attractive and innovative people. You have them already inside your country, give them a great internationally focused education and a good environment for creativity. You have a further advantage, and this is the advantage that indeed you're open-minded for innovation. Why do I say that? We have some countries, and unfortunately I would say to some extent, especially in the biotech, some European countries are belonging to those where we are analyzing more and more the risks instead of analyzing the first line, the opportunities. Let's analyze the opportunities and then think about, okay, if I'm convinced that there is an opportunity, what is the risk? That's fair. You have always to analyze both, but let's change the order. First the opportunity, then the risk, not the other way around. You have a third huge advantage that makes you really very privileged. You're a wealthy country. You have really the possibility to invest money in things you are convinced that this makes sense. Sense for companies, sense for the community, sense for the kingdom as a very abstract organization, or maybe also sense for the universities. So you have the financial power to get it done.
you addressed it by talking about having good lawyers, patent registration. It's a very unique path that needs to be taken after having the invention. So that's the first question. I know you addressed it somehow, but if there are anything else that you want to comment on. The second question, which is regarding investments. We know that investment in biotechnology takes much longer time for returns or refunds for investors. So the waiting time is longer and the risk is higher. And reports indicate that in the upcoming 2 years, the investment in biotechnology would exceed $700 billion just in the upcoming 2 years. So what would attract investors to come into this area of investments? What encourages them to that? Thank you very much.
Let me add regarding the commercial element in the entire process some further comments. You're totally right. A patent at itself has no value. It's burning money. Let's be super clear. A patent costs money. A patent only makes sense if there is a good hope, if there is a good perspective, that it might bring at least the money back you have invested, and in the ideal case, for sure, much more and much more beyond that. Again, no one can predict, no one has a crystal ball from the very beginning on whether an individual patent typically allows you to get the money 1,000-fold, millionfold back you have invested on that. I always say, it is most important to start changing the mindset. And the mindset means that we make it as normal as we are writing publications, that we are writing patents, good quality patents. And therefore, as discussed earlier, most important for me is universities need professional patent lawyers and experienced entrepreneurs who have also to some extent a good understanding of the market, because this is the basis for the analysis. Does it really make sense that we are investing? And you can easily say in the first year it's just about $10,000, but in all of the following years, especially if you're internationally expanding, you have to calculate roughly 20 to 100,000 US dollars every year just to keep patent vital. If you don't pay the money, you lose the patent. That's very simple. Therefore, there is a further element, and this is the element that brings this changing of the mindset into the universities, that the patent has the same value, and there is especially nothing wrong, because in the last century in Europe, it was typically the way, first make your science paper and then you can think about the patent. A science paper is the greatest top of the top, no doubt, but let's support that we are starting changing this in the order. Having published, no patent further on possible. And there is a further element necessary, and this is the total ecosystem. A single patent is typically not really successful in pushing anything. If you have started the first 10, the first 50, the first 100, you went through the process several times, and some of those might have a nice license concept, some of those might have taken by the inventors by themselves. Then you have the ecosystem generated. That means it takes time again, and it needs the adequate support of the creativity of the individual people. But there is one most important element, and here also I guess majority of the countries still have to fine-tune it. typically it's the scientist who has the best understanding, who has done the invention, who has the best understanding when to use it. You see, the smartest businessman, not necessarily. You see, the smartest market analyzer, most likely not the case. So what is necessary to make it, once you have started changing the ecosystem and the environment, in the sense of patent is at least as important as a good paper, there is a second step necessary. And this is this entrepreneurial thinking and continuous supporting of the youngsters at the beginning. So in the past, what had happened in Europe, we had the situation, you filed a patent, 5%, 10% have been successfully filed. Half of them, 5%, at really addressing a good commercial concept. And if the university was smart enough, they found a solution that the inventor, the scientist, was allowed to work around together with a patent. But we left him alone. We didn't support him. So the first step is so critical, and I would see here from two angles a support for a better environment. Indeed, investors should not only jump in when the brilliant concept is on the table, everything has been solved, and the market is waiting for the solution. Then it's easy to do. No, we need more investors that are starting from the very beginning on, that have really also this entrepreneurial thinking, realizing that for sure that they might fail. This, I would say, is in a good direction, that more and more investment instruments understand the topic. But also the university has to do it. And therefore, what do we need for that? We need a clear understanding from the university side that they should not stop with, I have supported my scientist to write a paper, or I have supported my scientist to write a patent. Also, universities should be motivated to take part of that success. And I would always like to remind all of us, the most successful universities worldwide, Stanford, Berkeley, MIT, that heavily invested in the mindset and the brain of their scientists, in the mindset and brain of their administration, to see this as their obligation to make the scientist successful, and not asking themselves why he might earn more money than me, that's not fair, why should I support him? That's still in a lot of administrative processes the thinking. And last but not least, don't leave the scientist alone once he has decided, I would like to make it my own, my first business. So if we are able to address these three layers, I can guarantee you it is not a fast success, but you will be successful in the next 10 years. It takes time, and therefore it takes a lot of energy and a lot of support, but it will make you successful. Because in one topic you're totally right, you have the most important advantage, brilliant, new next generation is waiting for you if you are attractive enough. Hopefully it gives you a little bit of an idea of my thinking, and hopefully you can agree with that. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for the great panel discussion for today. My name is Dr. Arndt from Expertar, so the Arndt Rolfs leading the biotechnology programs. I'm so interested, I'm so excited to hear something like that. During the discussion, I'm feeling glad I'm about to hear something like that, however, but I'm not hearing a lot of the mostly applications of biotechnology in the oil and gas industry, considering our kingdom, our country, one of the biggest oil industry exploring. The research we are doing in the requires a lot of applications, a lot of challenges, and we managed to, first of all, to fight. to see this application in the ground, and we managed to do that. And when I hear about this panel session, I say it's really good opportunity to engage with the university, and to be honest with you, I'm so exciting to have something like that, and I was expecting something like that from the aliens, as we are having close by university while we are sitting in Dhahran doing our research, and we are looking for people to collaborate, as Doctor's mentioned about the collaboration. We're doing a lot of collaborations outside of the nations. We are doing a lot of collaboration with the service companies. However, our neighborhood is, which we call it, as the best place we can engage with to do it. And my question over here, where is the direction of oil and gas industrial research within this program?
Thank you very much and welcome at University. Saudi Aramco is one of the huge companies that we are proud of, and we look forward to collaborate with. Our university is more into medicine and more into engineering, so maybe this is why the reason that we didn't work with each other so far. But however, biotechnology, as I defined it, it's the wide industrial biotechnology, has a lot to do with microorganisms and fuel efficiency, so we can work together definitely in that regard. So we have the knowledge regarding the microorganisms, the biology part of it, and we can work with each other. I forgot, we have also a huge chemistry department. I'll leave it also Dr. Nehad to say further. Chemistry has a lot to do with petroleum and petroleum engineering, so we look forward to sit with each other and collaborate. بالعكس يعني الأقربون أولى بالمعروف يعني and you are neighbors, so it gives us great pleasure to work with Saudi Aramco. تفضل دكتور نهاد.
Welcome, Mr. Abdullah. We already did it. We worked with Saudi Aramco from 6 months, and we submitted for them with Dr. Jeff from Saudi Aramco more than 30 projects from all our colleges and IMC and from Basel. And now we are at a stage with the 3 projects now in the second stage, let us say the second stage, and they now evaluate with Saudi Aramco, and there is a lot of presentation together between Saudi Aramco and IAU with this 3 projects, and we hope inshallah this project has inshallah successful way inshallah with Saudi Aramco. So there is a work with Saudi Aramco.
I'm really excited. I'm really happy to hear that, because regardless of obviously what you call it, you are working in medications or the medicals, the knowledge is the same. The basic of the technology is the same. It's a matter of the different applications. And before I joined Aramco's, I used to be working with the King Faisal Specialty Hospitals and Riyadh. Okay, but when I moved from the medical sector to industrial sector, I found it is matter of the application. Over here we are applying the technology and the patients and the finding the medicines, but in the regard of the oil and gas, we are applying the pipelines, we are applying it in the storage tank, the reservoirs, and to explore and we do hard in the patent-wise, we do a lot of the patent applications, and as it was highlighted, it's a matter of we managed to do a lot of patent and file it in the U.S. office with our full group of the patent supporters. The matter of even we are having having a lot of challenges in the either upstream or downstream from the exploring the oil and the refining and extending. We have a lot of challenges, and there's a lot of biotechnology applications on that manner. And this is the area, and the company itself is willing to invest either in the research itself or either in the, what do you call it, in the application itself, and it's not only just a matter of the supporting the research, even for the scaling up of the research itself and to have a product in the market. This is where we are really having a minded, open-eyed physician. If I'm not listening carefully to my patient, if I'm not learning from each individual case, I'm a bad physician. So let's be good physicians and let's learn from the individual case in the sense of what are the symptoms? What are the problems? How is the disease developing? Is this a very homogeneous picture of the disease or very heterogeneous? Do we have asymptomatic affected individuals? If yes, why? That drives me to the need of the understanding of biology and pathophysiology. And again, you're hearing from me this need to hybrid, to merge things that are normally based on our old organization, not really merge together. Therefore, biotech is a great environment to get it done. So what does it mean now in answering your question? It means you have everything on the table. You have access to investment, you have innovation, you have a creative young population, you have the political will, you have the patience. Use the knowledge to develop the next generation of modern solution in modern medicine in your country. You have a unique situation. That is really what's motivating me so massively. There are other countries that have the same situation. Also, high numbers of patients, young generation, good education. But they are either missing the economically power or they are missing the political will to get it done. And in that direction, and that's really for me an absolute miracle and important word, speed. The world is not waiting for solutions. We have enough creative, young, innovative people around the globe. So speed up the concept. Speed up, be faster than in the past is one of the most important words to be successful. And this is an important element. And again, thinking about how we can improve environment, it means also universities, even though they have to balance further challenges in an adequate way, but also universities have to anticipate that we have to start being faster because the world is getting faster. And this is a huge contribution. You were asking me earlier, why did I change from university to the industry? Industry is super fast in the meanwhile if they are successful. And this is something we can learn from the university perspective a lot of, from the understanding, don't discuss it too long, get it done. Sometimes you could fail. And take me maybe as an example. I failed with my first 2 companies. This was not damaging me. This was a huge contribution to my better understanding how to do it in the next step better. Therefore, speed means you have to take responsibility for decisions. Decisions sometimes are wrong. That's absolutely normal. We are no machines, we are human beings, and sometimes we bring the best arguments in the wrong order together. It could happen. If we're learning from that, it's the best we can do. So, make a long story short, from my outside perspective, I'm not really an expert in the investment ecosystem and situation in Saudi Arabia. I would say you have the best start point. If you bring this concept of be fast, get it done, together with the understanding that your huge contribution you can bring to the rest of the world in the biotech is that you have all of your homework done in the past. Now we have just to set it together and get it done. And that's a topic what I really appreciate also so massively regarding my understanding what you are doing in the last years, and also regarding Damam Valley, that you are now going to the next step and surrounding
all of the great homework you have done with the understanding, let's get it done and let's speed up.
Thank you. And this takes us to the next question. What are the challenges facing the biotechnology market nowadays, and what is the current situation?
Well, I would say the biggest challenge we have that the competition is huge. And competition is huge means be faster than your competitor, be smarter than your competitor, have a more creative solution. And for sure, creativity is something again, and do not misunderstand me if I'm sometimes, to some small extent, criticizing university structures. University have a different duty, for sure, to get done compared to the industry. But especially in the biotech, I guess we have from both sides to listen much better to the other side on the one side and try to learn why and in what field they are so successful and what they are doing better. So companies have to invest more in education. Extremely important, because it's in the meanwhile definitely the fight for the fittest globally. And all of the companies I have found in the last years, and I guess that's also an extremely important topic for you here in Saudi Arabia, I had 70 to 80% of the colleagues coming from outside Europe. Why? Because learning and getting education in different countries, in different environment, gives you a completely different perception how to solve a problem. If you're living and always taking employees from the same country, you have a very uniform thinking. You don't think in the way like sometimes Chinese guys might think, or like people from Asian countries think. They have huge advantage we might miss, and exactly the other way around. So this international aspect is an extremely important success factor, I would say, how to drive on the one side faster, with a high level of pragmatism, decisions, and making companies successful. This is, in my understanding, extremely important element. Therefore, challenges, coming back to your question, is, are you attractive enough that people are coming from outside without missing the understanding how important the continuous education for all of your employees and all of your partners is? Are you fast enough to be attractive enough that the other believes in you, that you are really successful? And everything what drives you regarding speed, attractiveness, should always follow a vision. Where would you like to be? If you don't have a vision, if you don't believe by yourself with 100% of your activities, then it's really an important, difficult challenge that is typically accompanied from failure. And therefore, the challenges, in my understanding, is on the one side, you have to be faster than your competitors. There are huge, smart competitors outside your own ecosystem. All over the globe, countries are thinking about, universities are thinking about how they can be more successful, how they can be faster. Therefore, analyze carefully where you have good arguments on the table that you are the number one, that you are a successful person in the biotech environment. And always ask yourself, what can I do better? If you're not starting your day in the morning, what can I do better? Either for my customers, or for my colleagues, or for the solution of the problems I have on my table, you will not be successful in the long term. And this should motivate you. If you don't have it, then it's difficult to be really successful.
Thank you, Dr. Arndt.
Thank you.
Mr. Abdullah, how do you see the future of innovation and investment in biotechnology in Saudi Arabia after 10 years?
حقيقة نراه يعني واعد جدا ومشرف، و يعني ممكن ناخذ هذا السؤال بجانب الفرص وجانب التحديات، وناخذ على وجه الخصوص لقطاعات التحولية اللي نشهدها الآن، منها قطاع تحول القطاع الصحي في المملكة والفرص التي يأتي بها لتطوير تقنية حيوية قائمة على الابتكار وتطوير صناعة تقنية حيوية في جانب الصحي والصيدلاني والدوائي، وقطاع آخر وهو قطاع الطاقة. نشهد حاليا عصر انتقال الطاقة، والمملكة غيرت بشكل جذري مزيج الطاقة وتسعى إلى أن تحقق ما يقارب 10 ميجا وات من الطاقة المتجددة خلال بضع سنوات إلى المزيج القائم. وهذا الجانب يعني هذا القطاع فيه فرص عظيمة. قطاع آخر ونحن في أحد قلاع هذا القطاع وهو قطاع التعليم، خصوصا قطاع التعليم الجامعي، وعلى الأخص التعليم الجامعي العالي أو البحثي. ووادي الدمام أحد الأمثلة التي يمكن من خلالها أن تسرع برامج تحقق يعني مفهوما أكثر تقبلا لما وصلتي بسؤالك عن نظرتنا للبيئة أو البنية الريادية للتقنية الحيوية. أشارت الدكتورة خلود في أكثر من مرة، أشارت كثيرا إلى كلمة التعاون، وأريد أن أضيف بالإضافة إلى التعاون إلى الانفتاح. فيمكن من خلال مبادرات رائدة مثل وادي الدمام أن تبنى في القطاعات الثلاثة التي ذكرتها فرصا يعني تحقق أهداف القطاع الصحي وقطاع الطاقة وقطاع التعليم في الوقت نفسه. لأكون أكثر تحديدا في تحول القطاع الصحي، وهو تحول جذري، وحقيقة القطاع يشهد تحولا شموليا على مستوى الصحة السكانية، وعلى مستوى الاستدامة الصحية، وعلى مستوى تطوير تجربة المستفيد وإثراءها، وأيضا على مستوى هذا الأهم نموذج الرعاية الجديد الواعد والمسارات العلاجية التي يمكن أن تحقق قيمة كبيرة للسكان سواء كانوا مرضى أو أصحاء، وتساعدنا في الوقت نفسه على التخلص من أعباء نمط الحياة الخاطئ الذي كنا نعيش وندفع الآن من خلال الأمراض المزمنة ثمنا باهظا يثقل قطاعنا الصحي ويعوق عن التقدم. لأن أحد الأمثلة في القطاع الصحي من الأمراض المزمنة الداء السكري يضيف على فاتورة العلاج نسبة عالية جدا، ويمكن للتقنية الحيوية أن تلعب من خلال هذا التحدي أن تغتنم فرصة التحول الصحي من خلال التجمعات الصحية، ومن خلال برنامج تحول القطاع الصحي، ومن خلال تعاون الجامعات مع القطاع الصحي لتطوير فهم دقيق وشامل مبني على فهم أدق للخصائص السكانية، ابتداء من دراسة الجينوم إلى تطور أعباء المرض، إلى تطور تأثير نمط الحياة على السكان، وكيف يمكن لمنصة مثل وادي الدمام أن يأتي بحلول. هذه فرصة لن تتكرر لأن تحول وقتي، بعد ذلك سوف نفقد مثل هذه الفرص. في قطاع الطاقة حقيقة هو قطاع واعد جدا. نحن نتحدث الآن عن أشياء لم تكن في حسباننا، وهو قطاع يعني هو تحول إلى مثلا إنتاج الهيدروجين الأخضر من خلال الإنتاج المكثف للطاقة المتجددة وتحليل الماء، مما يؤدي إلى أن نمتلك طاقة يعني وفيرة وغير، وتساعدنا أيضا على وفاء التزاماتنا وامتثالنا البيئي لتعهداتنا الدولية فيما يتعلق بالبيئة. أخيرا جانب التعليم حقيقة يشهد تحول جذري، والتحول هذا لا خيار لنا فيه. يمكن لوادي الدمام أن يساهم مع القطاع، مع الجامعات الأخرى، مع مراكز الأبحاث المتقدمة. يمكن أن تكرر على سبيل المثال فرصة بحث إنشاء مركز أبحاث يساعد على تسريع الفرص لرواد الأعمال والبحث من الجامعات في قطاعات مستهدفة من التقنية الحيوية، سواء كانت في الطب أو الدواء أو في الطاقة أو في قطاعات الغذاء، وهي قطاعات في غاية الأهمية لنا ونشهد تحديات حقيقية فيما يخصها. لذلك الانفتاح مهم والتعاون مهم جدا. بدون الانفتاح والتكامل والتعاون لا يمكن أن نحقق هذه الأهداف والآمال الكبيرة المبنية على استفادتنا من الفرص المتوفرة التي يتيح التحول الاقتصادي الذي تشهده المملكة العربية السعودية في هذه السنوات لا يمكن حصرها، ومن خلالها يمكن لمنصة مثل وادي الدمام أن يحول هذه التحديات إلى فرص من خلال التعاون، الانفتاح، والاستثمار الانتقائي في القطاعات ذات القيمة والأولوية.
شكرا أستاذ عبدالله. Now we will open the discussion with the audience. So if anyone wants to ask a question or add comments to our panelists.
Mr. Mike, please.
Yes, there are mics on both sides, so just raise your hand.
Thanks a lot for your really fruitful talk about biotechnology. I'm Dr. Mahmoud Brika from Public Health College. I just want to ask about the opportunity. For example, if we think about fermentation technology, microbial technology, production of byproducts from microbial system. I have beacon for production of bioplastics from microbes, and let me think about two main points. The major challenges are the first, to find pilot plant to scale up for production. This is one of the challenges I am facing. The second one, which is very important, which is concerning the market. Here, the country is one of the top countries in petroleum-based plastics. So it is a great challenge if we think about how much it would be beneficiary to produce biopolymer or plastic polymer from microbes. So my idea is to first, how can the startup help me to commercialize such thing, which is very, very essential nowadays. We know that, okay, petroleum-based plastics is totally cheaper. It's less, 1 kilo is less $1. And if you compare biopolymer, bio-based, it is $4. From the start point, you said, okay, petroleum-based is cheaper. But if you think about how the damage it would be to the environment, how the damage it would be to the microbial, to the human, then we should think about seriously production of biopolymers. The idea now, finally, how the startup can help to establish fermentation technology and how to face the challenge of the commercialization of such product. And thanks a lot.
Thank you. So, Dr. Arndt, would you like to answer this question?
I guess this might be a wonderful example where innovation is evident, the need is evident, that we have to work on that. And it's most important now to understand, is there really a market at the actual time or now? Because a lot of innovation was simply too early in the market, and the market was not yet mature enough. And especially for sure if we're thinking about innovation that has a direct impact on environment. So the discussion about environmental protection is getting more and more louder, and that's absolutely correct, I would say. Therefore, it is clear that we have to pay more attention on that. But if you ask in reality who's really willing to pay for it, then we have a significant gap between the loudness, how it is asked for, we have to do something, compared to reality, who is paying for that. Therefore, without being an expert in your topic, I would say, from the few arguments and topics you have put on the table, that seems to be very innovative. There is a clear need. We have to analyze, you have to analyze carefully whether the market is mature enough. and where you could imagine the market. I could imagine that even the market of a single country might be already so attractive that it might be used as a proof of concept to demonstrate whether it's useful and whether it's accepted what you're doing. And if there is a market, that's really an old experience, I would say. If there is a market, investors are knocking at your door. So this is not the limitation. Sometimes you have to spend a little bit time to find the right investors, a little bit of learning curve from my own biography, but I would say if you have a market, if you have a good idea, and if you can communicate it properly, don't be worried about the investors. The money is there. Just analyze carefully whether the market is mature enough and whether the market and where the market might be identified.
The perspectives are always fun. What would be your, let's say, have you exercised some hybrid thinking with sponsors, or can you shed more light, more details, and lay down how to make hybrid thinking part of this program? The second part of the question is, anyone can answer, is what is the order of investability, sustainability? First is sustainability, we start a program like this, and start a project in the wrong way at the moment with the current assessment of entrepreneurs. So thank you.
Thank you. I guess the question regarding the hybrid was addressed to me. Take hybrid as a synonym for innovation. In the last 100 years, we have developed extraordinary successful solutions in specific indications, in specific topics. So either basic science or medicine, applied medicine or wherever. And therefore the hybrid is the synonym. Now we can open our mind and think about, are these categories are still the right categories, or don't have the categories the risk that they are blocking us, that they are avoiding, that we are opening our view to look beside the traditional ways how the majority of the colleagues, the majority of the companies have identified solutions. And it is therefore for me always an important element in the analysis of a strategic challenge for a next product, for a next concept, always to think about, has something changed in the last years, in the last decades, that allows me to be more successful if I bring pieces together that have not been amalgamated in the last decades successfully. And an important element is always that we typically should ask ourselves if we are not just active in a pure production process, but biotech typically is beside that in an environment where we are talking about knowledge. So typically with everything what we are doing, we are generating knowledge. Where I'm coming from, this is the genetic analysis of diseases. In the past, it was the most important element, how can we make a precise, a fast, and affordable, and informative report to the doctor, that the doctor understands what is the problem. This was a great challenge, and it was extremely important for the patients. Now having tools in our hands that allows us, besides the standard diagnostic procedure, which is of importance for the doctor and mainly for the patient, we are producing much more data than are typically necessary for the individual diagnostic pathway. So what are we doing with the data? Should we ignore them? No. Use them in the sense of analyzing who might be interested. Where are the data of benefit? And where are the data contributing on the one side for improving your business, but on the other side, really adding a further solution. Because without a further solution, typically you will not be successful in the future. And that has clearly generated the understanding. There's a wonderful project. I would always like to use this also as a reference point to Saudi Arabia. That's the Genomic England project. The Genomic England project has so nicely demonstrated the government decided 7 years ago we would like to offer to all of our cancer patients the access to the whole genome sequencing, which means the sequence analysis of the entire genetic information. Typically 5 or 10 or 15 mutations out of the 3 billion mutations you are sequencing with the whole genome are of relevance for the individual, for the patient. What about the remaining information? Who is interested in? The pharmaceutical partners. And that was exactly also understood by the British government. So they said, instead of storing and archiving the data, no one is stealing and working with the data, why not trying to extract from data knowledge? That means, what is the epidemiology of disease? What is the frequency of a specific mutation? What is the association between the genotype, the mutation, and the phenotype, the symptoms? Am I able to identify new genes? Can I better understand the genetic reason of the frequent disorders, not only of the monogenic disorders? Can I use such new genes and such new understandings to speed up the development of new treatment development? Can I use this to speed up my clinical programs? So there are a lot of challenges that can be suddenly so easily addressed if you have access to very well structured, high quality data that allows you to extract knowledge. Why do I put this on the table? Because again, it's a good example. Let's merge or let's analyze from the beginning on the entire streamlined process in the sense of where's the benefit, what an entrepreneur, what a new startup, what a new concept is addressing. So not only the diagnostics, that was great in the past. In the meanwhile, we are generating much more that we should identify, we have to identify further partners like the pharmacy. And the pharmaceutical partners, they have a clear-cut understanding, rational analysis, how important speed is, again. And therefore, the better they can de-risk what they are doing, the more efficient they can speed up the process, the more they are willing to invest in the story. And that's exactly what we see now in the UK with the Genomic England program. It was at the beginning investment supported mostly by the government. Now pharmaceutical companies are investing significantly in getting access to the knowledge. And this has nothing to do to avoid a misunderstanding that is typically coming from the European perspective. Oh, someone is selling data. No, no one is interested in the data. They are interested in the knowledge. That's a big difference. The knowledge is the amalgamation of thousands of data sets. But no one is interested whether I have an ACGT sequence or an ATTT sequence. I published my genome just to underline how important it is that we're dealing transparently with data, and data are not damaging anyone. So trying to answer a little bit your question, in the medical environment, in the diagnostic environment, we are in a completely change of our ecosystem because we can produce mass data very easily thanks to technology. We have fascinating IT-based concepts like artificial intelligence and neural networks that are exactly in my environment so critical. We are producing every day roughly 500 to 1,000 terabytes of data every day, and we have to store them, and we have to find a way how to get access in a quick way. So let's use all of these fascinating progresses to develop on the one side better solutions for our customers, in my case typically for the patients, and let's always ask ourselves who else is interested in getting the knowledge and get access to the knowledge based on a commercial model we are producing anyway. Thank you.
اسمحوا لي بس عندي تعليق لعبد الله الرخيص. المهندس عبدالله الرخيص هو عضو مجلس، يعني بالإضافة لعدد من المناصب اللي يتولاها، عضو مجلس الأمناء لبرنامج هارفارد، كذلك مستشار في الديوان الملكي. وأعرف أن لغة الإنجليزية أفضل من لغتي بمرات، لكن لديه التزام أخلاقي بالحديث باللغة العربية في التجمعات العامة.
Just say, Mr. Abdullah Al-Rukhiz, he has a number of positions, and he's also an advisor in the
Royal Court, also board member to development program at Harvard, and his English is better than mine, but he has ethical commitment to speak in Arabic in public places.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم
شكرا سمية. My name is Dr. Khalid Salama from the Mental Health Department, College of Public Health. Thank you, Dr. Sumaya, and all speakers for this motivated and inspiring panelist discussion. And thanks to Scholar Nihad that we figure out we are in the final stage of for commercialization our product, and soon inshallah we will find our product and nano antimicrobial style in the market, Saudi market inshallah. But my point here it had many innovation idea and try to do commercialization and try to take the risk and try to find startup that is not it's not easy process. And one of my invention, I worked on a green plant treated with nanomaterial and use it as air contaminant remover. And trying to convince many entrepreneurs to have startup for this invention, but they don't agree or not accept my idea. Although now internationally they are using green plant as an environmental stressor. They are using green plant as environmental monitoring for air quality, for water quality, for groundwater quality. How we have to convince, how to have good information and good techniques to convince an entrepreneur or startup company to take the risk with me and to do commercialization for our invitation. Okay, thank you, Dr. Sumaya.
Thank you, Doctor. Would you like to answer the question, Dr. Arndt, Mr. Abdullah?
I guess what you are phrasing is the biggest challenge we have. Because typically what we are talking about is nothing you can easily multiply in the sense of by a production cost. That is not doable, because what we need is creativity. What we need is brave, and what we need is trust in someone's self and trust in the story that is in the back. So I would say what is hand and what in act, it typically starts that we have to generate a creative environment that motivates young people to try to be open-minded and get all of the good attitudes that are necessary for good science. Creativity in biotech starts always with good science. Without that, it's very unlikely that you will be successful. So universities have to generate a good environment of creativity, stimulation, and motivation. I would say this is the most important first step that has to happen. Then there is a second step, and this is we discussed it just in the morning a little bit more extensively. Typically, not in all of the cases, innovation is being reflected by patents, because patents are protecting creativity. Patents are allowing a commercial usage of an idea in a global environment, and patents avoid that someone is, over a majority for sure, that someone is just copy-paste a great idea another one has done. However, the patents are not yet the currency that are typically incentivized or that are typically communicated by the authorities, by the administration, by the universities. We have a massive shift, that is absolutely clear. But still, if you are asking a professor or a scientist what contributes to your reputation and what motivates and stimulates you, then it's typically the first answer, good science that is published. And this is really, I guess, extremely critical, that also for that topic, we are generating a good environment. So as scientists, I would say, we all experience how to do good science. We have an understanding how to analyze our environment, and we have good experience how to get it published, how to get it communicated. But the commercial element or the technology that is necessary to write a patent, that's something completely different. And I would just like to give a very small example of one of the interestingly most successful patents for myself. So I was already mentioning PCR as a key technology. There have been a lot of patents in the first years around PCR. And the PCR is based on a specific, we call it DNA polymerase, that is an enzyme that is generating the copy of the DNA. And it's a DNA polymerase. So it was the question, can we also amplify RNA? Just to remind you, DNA, RNA, protein is the way of the biology and of our life. So the RNA is typically amplified by the fact that we first build a copy DNA called the cDNA, and then the cDNA again is getting amplified. And this procedure, this step of the cDNA generation, there was again a specific enzyme necessary, and that enzyme was depending on magnesium. It's a magnesium-sensitive enzyme. So if you don't have magnesium in the reaction, you can't produce the copy. If you're overloaded with too much magnesium, you're killing the reaction. So you have to titrate it. And it was a very small area of concentration of magnesium where the reaction was working. I thought, that's not really very pleasant. Is there a possibility to use a different ion instead of the magnesium? So within 2 weeks, I made some experiments with one of my technicians, and we have exchanged the magnesium with manganese. Was this spectacular? No. Was this a super smart idea? No. It was just very well set, analyzed the problem and the challenge, and I was lucky. And yes, the magnesium was much better. The manganese was much better than the magnesium because you could use a broader range of concentration. I filed a patent, and I was lucky. Now I'm coming to my point. Because at that time at the University of Berlin, there was a brilliant patent officer who had a good understanding how to phrase a patent. And here I'm coming to the next point. A patent is not a scientific publication. A patent has always to amalgate the understanding of the science. Your counterpart has to have a scientific thinking, but phrase it in an economically based legal language. We are not experienced on that. And with that, and I had this lucky situation that I had a wonderful counterpart, was one of my best patents. Was it smart? No, I was just lucky that the pieces are coming together. So what I would like to say with that example, and this I guess is really one of the important challenges where I can see a significant improvement. Industry companies, they have typically unlimited resources to have the best patent lawyers on their side. Universities typically do not have that. So therefore there is from the very beginning on a disbalance. But it has to be exactly the other way around. Because creativity is typically coming from the universities. But the universities are missing this professional next step in really transforming the science in a good economic environment reflected by the patents. I guess this is really important next steps. The really successful universities, think about Stanford, think about Berkeley, think about MIT, also some one or two in Germany. They are successful because they identified exactly that need to have super professional partners in the patent office. And the last topic I would like to give, coming back to your question, is that is for sure we as seniors, we have to give a good example to the youngsters to give them credibility that the jump, now founding a company, maybe leaving the safe university, is not a super high risk for their own life. Because if they are failing, there's nothing wrong about failing. The money, and it was the past, coming from the investors, is in the overall majority not further on the limitation. The money is there. I would say it was never as easy as now with a good idea and a good understanding of the market. I guess that's really critical to convince an investor to support such an idea. But we have to give confidence to the young generation. We have to give them a good understanding of support, that this is not an existential step. If they are failing, they are out. No, take it if they are failing as a part of the learning curve.
لدي تعليق موجز عن سؤال الدكتور خالد. أعتقد يعني في جامعة الإمام عبد الرحمن بن فيصل وجود يعني مثال الدكتور خالد سلام والخطوات التي يعني مر فيها من قطع يعني الجزء الأهم من الطريق، والأمر ينطبق في الوقت نفسه على الدكتورة المنصور وفريقها في تسجيل اللقاح. أعتقد يعني مثل يعني هاتين خطوتين علامة فارقة لجامعة رائدة يمكن أن تخرج من ما يسمى منطقة الراحة إلى مرحلة التفجير، ويمكن أن يعني مجموعة من الخطوات الأخرى تساعد أن تتحول محاولة الدكتور خالد أو أعضاء التدريس أو الباحثين، يعني محاولات اللي يمكن تصبح بين محاولات خجولة إلى أن تتحول إلى ما يمكن أن يوصل بالكتلة الحرجة التي يمكن أن تصنع حدث في جامعة الإمام عبد الرحمن الفيصل، في جامعة الملك فهد الدكتور المعادي، في جامعات أخرى. وذكرت بيتش بوك في تقريرها العام الماضي أن نحو 20 مليار دولار هي قيمة الاستثمارات الجريئة للأبحاث في الجامعات. هذا رقم جدا كبير طبعا فقط في مجال التقنية الحيوية وعلى الأخص التقنية الطبية والدوائية. هذا رقم جدا مهم. لماذا وصلت؟ لأن يعني باحثين متميزين مثل الدكتور خالد قال نحن هنا ولدينا منتج يمكن أن يوجد في السوق. لذلك من المهم أن توجد مثل هذه الخطوات خارج منطقة الراحة. وهذا المبدأ اقتصر على مرحلة ما قبل البذرة، يعني الشركات الريادية التي تحتاج لمبالغ في البداية للمستثمرين في المرحلة الأولية، ويمكن أن يعني تكرر تجارب، يمكن يفشل كثير من التجارب، ولكن في النهاية نوجد لدينا العدد اللازم لأن نحدث ظاهرة ونصل إلى الكتلة الحرجة التي يمكن أن يعني تخرج الجامعات من كونها مراكز أبحاث فقط، ولكن مراكز لديها الإمكانات والبنى الأساسية اللازمة، مثل وادي الدمام على سبيل الحصر في حالتنا هذه في جامعة الإمام عبد الرحمن بن فيصل، ومثل كثير من المراكز أيضا. لكن الخطوة الأهم نحن كباحثين أو كمهتمين بتطبيقات التقنية الحيوية نقول نحن هنا نبحث عن المستثمر، وعندما تكثر الظاهرة سوف يأتي المستثمرون يطرقون أبواب الجامعات.
شكرا أستاذ عبد الله. الدكتورة خلود عندها إضافة.
كده بس نرجع الباقي.
Just a quick addition, thank you very much. Shukran, Sir Abdullah. I'm thinking as much as we need risk takers, researchers, we also need risk takers, investors. So as much as we need the good researchers to sell their ideas and pitch their ideas to investors, also we need on the other side risk taker investors who believe in such a researcher. Just wanted to add that, and just wanted to add also last point, that we are a rich country. Rich country not only with our financial resources, we are a rich country as Professor was saying, we are a rich country with our youth, we are a rich country with our minds, we have physicians, we have pharmacists, we have dentists who traveled all over the world to get a degree and come back. So we're rich in that regard, not only financially, but also human resources. We just need to put these resources in front of the right investors. Thank you very much.